2014 budget, please sign up back there so we can kind of take these in order. We've got some here that signed up, but if there's anybody that hasn't signed back there that wants to speak, put your name on the list and we'll get to you in order. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the public hearing for our FY 2014 budget. The budget has been available for your inspection for some time here at City Hall. However, I would like to ask Nathan, if he would, our Chief Financial Officer, to come up and kind of give a general synopsis of it, and then we'll take any comments that any of you may have regarding that budget. You didn't know I was going to do that, did you?
That's all right.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Y'all will bear with me as I flip through some spreadsheets. As you notice, I need to bring back additional information. Mayor and Council, the budget that was presented to you for fiscal year 2014 includes in it a proposed millage rate increase to 7.98 mills. This would produce approximately $800,000 of additional revenue for the general fund. To the average taxpayer on a $150,000 piece of property, that means approximately a $71 increase in tax. The budget is balanced, all of the funds that we propose to you with that. Along with that, in the water and sewer fund, we do have a proposed rate increase of 4.5% across the board for water and sewer rates. You have any questions on the budget?
I think the council's pretty much been through it a few times. That's pretty general there. The overall budget, there's quite a number of various departments and funds, and the total is in the neighborhood of 36 million.
You're correct.
All
yes, sir.
funds. Okay. And that's actually up from about what, 33 in 2013. 31 in 2013. Okay.
Now, be mindful that approximately $3 million of that is payoff of debt. We have a CBA series bond that will pay that off in September of 2014. Any excess funds that are not used. So a portion of that 36 million that's in that the 36 million total budget account.
What was the source of revenue that made it jump $5 million? Is that?
Well, again, $3 million in revenue and $3 million of expenses or expenditures is accounted for in that bond. So if you'll subtract approximately $3 million from that 36, that would be more of a better comparison between 31 and 33, 34 million.
All right. As this is a public hearing, we want to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts on it. That's why we're here. It's not necessarily a dialogue, but it's a time in which you can make comments about the proposed budget. We will also have, in addition to tonight, we will also have a public hearing prior to our August 15th council meeting, and we'll also have a third and final public hearing on August 22nd, at which time we will actually vote on the final budget at that time. And like I said, this is not in stone. It has a possibility, you know, it may be changed certainly between now and the 22nd. And if it is, what we end up with, we will be voting on the 22nd. So has everyone signed up that wishes to speak? Hopefully, okay. John Fincher?
Yes.
Thank you, Nick.
Council members, mayor, friends. I'm John Fincher. I live at 155 Golf Course Road. You need to put that down in your minutes. I don't understand the necessity for raising taxes. Maybe that hadn't been explained to me tonight. It's just the budget has been presented, this much money needs for next year. This includes millage rate. But I don't see any explanation for the necessity for raising taxes. If there's not a reason, a rationale, then let's go raise the taxes. I don't understand the rationale at this point of why we should raise taxes for next year. And we shouldn't raise the millage rate. So I stand tonight before you requesting that you not raise the millage rate for 2014. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Mr. Bob Rugg?
Mr. Mayor, Council, as far back as anyone can remember, or at least since we've had representative government, mankind has suffered from a strange ailment. It's called governmentia. And that's when leaders seem to forget why they were elected. And the strange thing about this ailment is it affects the leaders, but it's the taxpayers who suffer from it. And the ailment runs rampant in Washington, D.C., where effective legislators are consumed by their compulsive overspending. And it's insidiously contagious because it works its way down to the local chambers of government as well. And the effects of it are really sad. I mean, imagine being compelled on a local level to ask for a tax increase because your neighboring city got a tax increase. And the taxpayers won't abide the suffering imposed when leaders engage in unprotected legislating. So they've come up with a stopgap cure. It's not in a capsule, in a pill box. It's in a check mark in a ballot box. And I pray that one day we'll find a permanent cure for this. But for the well-being of this city, I implore you to not act like irresponsible teenagers spending money for candy in amphitheaters instead of spending it on needed things like school supplies and street repairs. We don't need a tax increase. We need sane, logical spending. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Grant, were you speaking at the next meeting?
Next meeting, yes.
And Tracy Gibson?
Chrissy,
I'm sorry, apologize.
that's my hand.
Was that at the next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, I got it right. I thought somebody might have put the name on that. Actually, that is all that we have signed up for. If anyone else would like to speak, certainly, as long as we do so in an orderly way, we'd certainly be willing to listen. Yes, ma'am.
I came in just when you were asking if everyone had signed up.
Okay, if you would, just give us your name and where you live.
My name is Diane Shepherd. I live at 503 Biscayne Green Park Court, and that's in River Green. And the reason we came tonight is because we moved here from South Florida. And 2 years in a row, we saw the building boom down there, property increased, values increased 30% and 30%, and then of course, we saw everything come to a screeching halt 2 years before it did here. And right now, we're looking like we're recovering, and I know you're trying to make up for lost ground in some of you, but I would caution you not to spend money you think you have coming in because things are improving. That would be my recommendation, is to just err on the side of caution with the city's money and the city's debts. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. I hadn't planned to say anything tonight, but, you know, after coming to council meetings for last 6 years, had an opportunity to see how this the city government works, and had an opportunity to see all the problems the city's facing, has been faced, and how you deal with them, and see how some of the problems are going to be in the future, that you need to have additional revenues for that, and look back, you know, over the years to see how this city's progressed. You just can't stay like it was, you know, 5, 6 years ago in revenues. It has to come up because problems are coming up. So I heard the budget tonight, and based on what I've been able to see over the years, the increases they're talking about, I'm familiar with. In my opinion, I think the increases being presented tonight are satisfactory to meet the city's needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at this time? If not, we will close the public hearing, and I think ask the council if they have anything they want to add or respond in any way to any of the comments or questions.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I think to answer one comment, that just prior to coming up for this meeting, we asked the CFO how much was in the budget for the increase in the property digest that we're increasing, and I think it's only $80,000 total. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Ingram. Only $80,000 are in the budget based on the property index increasing in the fiscal year 14, which is a very small amount.
Okay. Anyone else? Mr. Bryant?
Yes, sir. I just learned this afternoon. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for everybody who participated. I'd like to encourage more. So far, I've heard from one taxpayer myself. So I would like to hear more pro and con. I would like to just relay a little historical information on millage rates in the city of Canton. I just learned today, in 2005, the millage rate was 6.8, which is what it is right now. 2006 and 7 and 8, it dropped each year down to a low of 5.95. And then in 2009, it went up to 6.8, what it is now. And so this is the 4th year that the millage rate has been the same. Not that it's necessarily relevant what other communities are doing, but I do think it's interesting to see what other communities, how other communities have raised their millage rate, whereas ours is the same that it was 8 years ago. And 3 out of the past 8 years has been lower than it is right now. This is an ongoing process. I can speak for myself. I have definitely not made up my mind as to how I'm going to go on this. So I do want to hear from other people. Thank you.
Okay.
Is this a time to discuss this amongst the
Well,
Council, is that gonna be on next week?
well, that, you know, we can discuss it tonight, or we can, this was basically a public hearing.
Okay, but I'm talking about the meeting following this meeting. Is that,
I don't, it's not on, that's not actually on the agenda. We can discuss it this night, we can discuss it at our, we put it on the agenda for discussion at our 15th and 22nd. We'll have a discussion on the 22nd as well, as the, because we're gonna have to vote on it at that point.
yeah, I would like to consider my schedule. I'd like to discuss it now if that's.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. We all have read or heard about this proposed budget, which there's a lot there, there's a lot needed. We've gone 4 years cutting things back in order to save. And it even goes back to, I think, the year '09 when the city let 22 employees go. So I think our council, and I wasn't present, the previous council and the mayor have done a good job in even during difficult times to minimize or reduce our debt to some degree, considering the economic conditions. That was pretty good. In fact, it was real good, not pretty good. But there is a time that we need to reinvest into our city, and that could come in the form of many areas, and that could be police cars to you just go down the list walking around. There's just so much that goes on within the city. Trucks that go out and repair the street, lawnmowers that cut the grasses, and so forth. And our employees have been working very hard, and their equipment is beginning to run down. And there's a time that you have to start reinvesting in your city in order to continue to deliver high service with fewer employees, and we still do have fewer employees. So with that said, the proposed budget right now, I think, please correct me if I'm incorrect on some of it, but roughly 17 to 18%, that's what we see in the paper. And percentage-wise, that's heavy. Dollar-wise, it's not too heavy. But the fact that I am in politics now, and being a politician, I guess, is a matter of compromise. I want to propose what I think is a compromise that will give everybody probably something, and nobody will get everything. So some people are not going to be happy, and some people are going to be happy. So it's a compromise. And what I'm proposing is this. As you know, I want fire stations, and I'm an advocate for increasing our fire service to help protect our citizens. I am for public safety. Make no qualms about it. The city's first duty is public safety. And that's the reason people live in cities, is to have better safety. So in this budget that's proposed, it's got 9 firemen in there. And I'm saying, and I know that Mr. Cummings doesn't want any firemen, but I'm saying that I'm willing to accept less to help bring down the budget, the proposed budget. We also have in reserve that our council and mayor and our CFO in particular and city manager have been able to create an additional, by the end of this fiscal year, estimated to be $2.2 million of reserve. My proposal is, as far as the compromise, is to take $500,000 of reserve that we could have spent the previous 4 years. We could have spent that, but we were diligent in building a savings account. Now that we have need to replace some equipment, and we do have need to hire a few people. We're building a new hospital. We are not, but you know, Northside's building a new hospital. That in itself requires a building inspector full-time. we need a person to go out there and do it. That's an additional person. So there are needs like this that doesn't necessarily meet the eye of the everyday citizen unless they come and sit in one of these chairs. I'll get around to it in just a minute. Pardon me for being so long, but I am a politician now. So I'm saying reduce the request for firemen from 9 down, reduce it 4 people. I will save the city approximately $225,000. If we can't hire these individuals in a period of, say, 3 to 4 months, that reduces that number even more. Reserve $500,000. That's $725,000 that we can take out of the budget. $725,000 over what we presently have before us. In meeting with Mr. Ingram and Mr. Wood, and now it gets down into the nitty-gritty of how it's split up. But we think that we can deliver most of everything that has been requested. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Wood. If we had a $250,000 increase and spend $500,000 in reserve out of the $2.2 million, and reduce our request for fire service firemen from 9 to 5. Mr. Wood, am I correct, Mr. Ingram?
I'm trying to follow you. The $250,000, I'm trying to figure with $250,000 would generate two. Say 200 plus or minus. Okay.
So we can have or replace and add the people where it is needed. How many people, an everyday citizen, realize that building a hospital complex is going to require an additional person? We're building a park over here, and we already, our streets and park people are pushed to the end to try to take care of what we have. We're going to have to help right there because we're trying to deliver more service, which comes in this way in the form of a new park that people have wanted. And how that money came about as far as spending the money for the park, some may not remember, but we voted a park bond for the Cherokee County. What year was that? Do you recall? 4 or 5 years ago? The year 09. We're just, that money is being collected and has been being collected for years. We're just now building it. It's not like we're going out and spending new money. People say that we're spending too much. That money has been there. Some of these street projects that you see, and we need to do more on streets. The mayor's got a program to help identify that and look for the future. And we'll have some splash money to work on that. And those are monies that are built into the budget. So I'm saying that the council, with the help of the staff, is doing a pretty good job here. We have been living the fact that we have not had an increase over the last 4 years. That turns out to be about a $1.9 million shortfall of revenue that passed through the coffers of the city. Had we been collecting it all along the way, we probably wouldn't have this conversation. But that's done, that's behind us. We have been building reserves. We're not going to take it all because we needed reserves, and we still do. As an example, we are building a new lift station. How much that lift station cost? Had to do it. The one down at where we had the $250,000. We didn't have that budgeted. It was
We reduced the deficit.
How much did we reduce it?
Around 20 million, right, in the last 5 years.
But we added 8 back.
So we
total about 11 million.
Net reduce the debt about 11 million.
So your city is, under extreme conditions, is doing a pretty good job, considering all the things that gone on. Yes, we tried to sell the reservoir, we couldn't work out a deal with that equitable. But that's gonna be an asset for us for many, many years to come. And we're handling it. We are handling it. So to come up with a quarter of a mil, even if it's 3/10 of a mil, what would that amount to in dollars for a $100,000 house?
About 12 bucks.
$12? Thank you.
Anyone else? I would like to just say one thing on the relative to the past years and the tax increase back in '09 and so forth. Every year for at least the last 4 or 5 years, we've had money left over in our budget beyond our expenditures. And that's the reason it's kind of hard for me to see why would you need a tax increase if you have money left over at the end of that year? You didn't spend what you had. I mean, so that's sort of where I'm coming from.
Is that not in reserve now?
Yes, go ahead.
The one thing I think we ought to clarify is what you call the reserve isn't a reserve. If I'm not mistaken, GMA says a city our size should have about $1.2 million or $1.3 million in a reserve account, which is, we have 300,000 and change in a reserve account, which is really not to be touched. What you're talking about is the 2 million number that you used is an unfunded balance that is sort of money float that we have that we use to spend on things that we don't foresee or we need to budget forward. But when you call it a reserve, it's not quite the proper terminology. That's all I have to say.
And it is, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 2.2 is actually not available money just that we have extra above and beyond this budget, is it?
No, it's accumulated money. It's an unassigned fund balance that we project we will have effective September 30th, if everything that's projected happens between now and September 30th.
So it's not a pot of money we have right now, okay.
But it will be available in 30 days, 60 days.
Yes, sir.
And we haven't appropriated any of that at all into our new budget.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's all general fund money?
General fund money, correct.
So I would like to make, I don't know if this is the appropriate time, a motion that we, Mr. Russian shaking his head no.
This is a
hearing.
Everybody here, and this is just a.
This is a special
This is
meeting.
But the reason I do this, again, I'll ask for your patience. I know it's not important, but I'm scheduled a 2-week vacation. I'm going to be leaving tomorrow morning. And I just want to bring this forward to try to see if we can get some action towards a compromise.
Well, we're not gonna vote on this even on the 15th, you understand? We're not gonna vote on it the 15th, it'll be voted on after our third public hearing on the 22nd.
But will we have put these numbers together in this type of format so that we can,
Well, there will be a final budget put together that we have to vote on at that time.
which one are we going to put together?
I guess we ought to wait till we've had at least a couple of public hearings before we try to do that.
I'm not going to be here. That's the reason I'm asking for it
I think
now.
you've done a job tonight, making your point very clear, so, I mean, we can certainly look at that. Anyone else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. That's second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. All members voting for the motion. We're adjourned on a public hearing, budget public hearing. Okay. We're now going to do our regular council work session. for August 1st, 2013. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and if you would, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Val. Father, we thank you for each one that's here tonight. We thank you for our beautiful weather that we have, for all those that are here looking at the different issues that we have concerning our city. And we just thank you for concerned citizens. We ask that you just be with us, help us make the right decision. All these things we pray in your name. Amen.
I'd like to welcome everybody here. I will at this point entertain a motion to consider approving the agenda.
I'd like to amend the agenda, and I guess we could put it under council introduced items. But Mr. Wood, in his letter to us, indicated that this Badcock tap fee situation has been settled.
Okay.
And I think I would like to, if it's okay with him and the council, to put that on the agenda so we can get that behind us.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, I'd like to add to the council addition for the athletic fields for City Park.
The, and what, the proposed management of the
Athletic fields.
recreation program?
Recreation.
We'll add both of those under council and other topics if that's okay. Anyone else have any change or anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda with those two additions. So, have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All members voted for the motion. Okay. All right, we have in your package there, you have the minutes from the July the 18th council meeting. Are there any changes or corrections to be made?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve, have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Minutes are approved.
I did not vote because I'm.
Okay, Susan, please make note of that. So it was all members with the exception of Bill, and of course, Mr. Cummins is out at this time. You have also in your package the acknowledgement of the financials for June 2013. If there are any questions or comments regarding that, we have our CFO and city manager here who can answer your questions. If not, we'll move on. Now we'll have to go into our 10-minute public input period. Bill Grant, first on the list.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We'll talk something more pleasant. On behalf of the Main Street program, I want to invite you all and everyone in attendance to the August 1st Friday, which is tomorrow night, 6 to 9:30 p.m. It's going to be our largest one ever. We're expecting huge crowds. If you like barbecue, like I do, as you can tell from the Tribune photo today, I like a lot of it, but we're going to have a Scott Boys barbecue truck. I don't know if you've ever had their barbecue, but it's really amazing. He's going to be on site downtown smoking pork all day tomorrow. So live music begins at 6 o'clock. The legendary Long Shot Band from Dalton, Georgia, my hometown. And then it actually begins at 6 o'clock with the Cherokee County High School drum line. So we're looking forward to them and the Long Shot Band. And then 8 o'clock, the Fiddleheads are in concert. Free concert, doesn't cost you anything. We all like free stuff. So they were among the finalists from the first America's Got Talent show. And last time they were in Canton, they sold out. They've headlined at the Kentucky Bluegrass Festival, at the Grand Ole Opry. They opened for Tim McGraw. Really great band. If you haven't seen them before, please come out and see them. So bring a chair, bring a blanket. We're starting setting up at 3 o'clock if you guys want to help. We'll use all the help we can get. But please come down and enjoy a great Friday night in downtown Canton. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gibson?
Mr. Bill said this is pleasant as well, because I'm still intense about talking about money, so, whether it's my husband or here, that was intense. I am Chrissy Gibson. I've been the president for Canton Paul Park. It's the dog park we have in Canton. I hope y'all are all familiar with it. I've been the president for 2 years. I just want to give y'all an update and introduce myself, because I'm kind of always behind the scenes doing all the grunt work. The fence will be repaired and have a retention wire put in next week. And as well as the gravel, Mr. Kinjimi has been wonderful in helping with the Parks and Rec department. So they dumped gravel for the handicap parking spots. I don't know if anyone's been there. It's been like mud rolling over there. But anyway, so that was all. I just want to introduce myself, and I hope you guys use the dog park. We put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, at least on my end, in it. So anyway, I just wanted to introduce myself, and that was all I wanted.
Are there a lot of people utilizing the park now?
On Saturday mornings, we have a group, and it's usually anywhere from 10 to 30. That's the biggest one, and it depends on the time, whether the weather is really hot or not that day. Sometimes they do it at 9, sometimes it's at 10. And throughout the evenings, Miss Batista, you can stand up if you want to, she joined our board. She used it for quite a bit as well, just in the afternoons and stuff, and she'll see people on and off as well. So I would say, yeah, it was a good pet for us to have it. A lot of people have enjoyed it. Of course, more I get complaint calls than good calls, as anyone knows. But we do, when we talk to people, a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, I love it. You know, I'm so glad it's there." So it makes me feel good to be part of that. So yeah.
Very good. Thank you for what you do too.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all we have signed up for the public input period. So we will move forward under old business. Discussion of the Hidden Valley Drive repairs. Mr. Wood?
We are in discussions with the county along the lines of what we discussed at the last council meeting. So I would just report that is a work in progress.
Okay, how about the next item you also is an update on the street improvement program.
We did not make it on the agenda, but I would like to ask council to, this specific item on the agenda, but I think it qualifies to come under this general item, and that is that we did open bids on Monday for our MIG projects, resurfacing projects. If you'll recall, as I reported at a budget work session several weeks ago, when we initially advertised that project, we didn't have any bidders at all. It was somewhat unusual, but it seemed that the weather had impacted most paving contractors such that their work was backed up, and it was unusual, but it was the first time ever. I think we had not had any bids at all. We had re-advertised, and we now have 2 bids. One from Bartow Paving in the amount of $115,000, and one from C&K Paving in the amount of $129,000. So our recommendation, I believe we have a contract with Bartow, which is a qualified local contractor. It meets all of our bid specifications and requirements. We have a draft contract, I believe, that had been forwarded to Mr. Dyer's office for his review. So we will ask at the next meeting that council approve that contract and that bid award in the amount of $115,733.36, so that we can then go forward with the big project, street project for this year.
Do you have the names of those streets that are to be resurfaced?
I didn't bring that. Joby, do you happen to have the names of the streets that, Joby here?
Yeah. I've got some copies of our LMIG application that we'll pass it around. The last page will have a tab of the streets and what we'd like to do on the resurfacing portion.
Right, okay.
Mr. Wood, can I ask you in your explanation or comments here, consider we're all into the tax issues today, what budget this is coming from and how it's being funded?
Well, the majority of that money is actually a state grant.
Thank you. So it's not coming out of city coffers necessarily, so we're not spending city money here.
Most of it is not. There's a local match, I think, of 20%, $30,000 or $33,000 out of $180,000 total, or city money.
Thank you.
Actually, those projects, I think, for everyone's information, appear to be East Marietta Street, sidewalk replacement, beginning at Marietta Road and ending at Archer Street, Haynes Road patch and overlay from Marietta Road to Connect. I'm sorry, from Marietta Highway to Ridgeway Road. And Harmon Circle patch and overlay, Marietta Road to Connect. McClure Street patch and overlay from Harmon Circle to Cartersville Street. Old Marietta Road patch and overlay from Marietta Road to the end. Dupree Street mill and overlay from Main Street to North Street. Dr. John T. Pettit restriping from Marietta Road to East Main. Riverstone Boulevard restriping from Riverstone Parkway to Bluffs Court, and various other pavement markings and restriping. So a total of about $183,200. And in addition to that, we are hopefully looking at discussing with an engineering firm, or firms, I should say, relative to an overall transportation plan and program by which we can begin to take care of some of the problems that we have and develop a routine street maintenance program. We're going to have to do something, and maybe over a number of years, just add a little bit each year or so much each year to try to dig into the needs that we're going to have. If we don't get started doing something on some of these streets that don't have an overlay on them right now, even some of the newer subdivisions, those are going to be damaged, and it's going to be to fix the base and everything else on them. But I think we need to at least get started with the program so that we can move forward to take care of some of those problems. Where there is an opportunity to go against a bond, or where there is an opportunity for that a developer still is working and developing in our city, then we need to take advantage of that and try to ensure that they take care of their responsibilities as far as this goes. Anyway, anyone else have any questions, comments on that? Under new business, discussion of quitclaim deed to release a temporary construction easement on Bluffs Parkway.
This is on some property up just past Sears on Bluff Parkway, and this temporary construction easement was never addressed previously, and I think somebody in Mr. Patton's office might have discovered it, but we're asking we'll be asking the council to take action on this is the next meeting.
Yeah, was this an easement that the city had?
This was a temporary,
Construct that road, didn't it?
this was a temporary construction easement that was part of the overall construction of Bluffs Parkway. Attorney representing the property owner, the piece of property where this temporary construction easement has had discussions with our office, and of course I've been in contact with the city attorney in regards to this, to do this quitclaim to release that temporary construction easement. The road's built, all the construction's done, and we don't need the temporary construction easement for that piece of property.
How often are quitclaim deeds issued to release a temporary construction easement?
First time I've ever had anybody
That's
ask.
for me too.
I mean, it's already expired. This is
Yeah.
really just cleaning up the record. Somebody apparently felt the need to clarify that it was expired, so.
Okay, so we'll have that on the agenda for the next meeting. Item B, discussion regarding the contract award Marietta Sidewalk Replacement Contract to Integrated Construction. Mr. Wood?
this is also part of the same LMIG project. The LMIG project had three primary components. One was the road resurfacing, this is the mayor read a while ago. Two was various roads striping. The striping component of that LMIG grant has already been completed. And the third was for some sidewalk replacement. The sidewalks on East Marietta Street on both sides of East Marietta will ultimately be replaced. This side of East Marietta, those sidewalks are part of the what we're referring to as the Downtown Connector Project. The sidewalks on the far side of East Marietta were not included in that grant. Both of those are state DOT grants. The far side was part of our local MIG, and we received 7 bids on that project. The lowest is in the amount of $32,284.44, and so we'll be asking council at the next meeting to approve that bid awarding contract also.
Item C, anyone have any questions on that? Item C, discussion of the signed kiosk program.
We're still continuing to discuss that at this point. We're going to come back to you with a little bit more specific recommendation. I think you've got a lot of information, and we would ask you to give us some input individually if you'd like to, but right now that's still a work in progress too.
Any questions? Item D, discussion of Canton Cove Senior Living Development. We've had, this property is that we talked about some time ago near the intersection of Reinhardt College Parkway and State Route 140. Corner there, I believe, corner portion of that. It's my understanding, and we'll have someone here, that I think that we have some folks from that here don't kind of give us an idea. Basically, that they have asked to go through the Canton, I believe Canton Housing Authority for funding, which really requires our approval to do that, as I understand. Yes, sir.
My name is Jerry Peterson, tax-sheriff from Williamsburg Bond Council.
Okay.
And on July the 18th, the Housing Authority passed a preliminary resolution to proceed with the steps to move the financing along. One of the requirements is that there will need to be a public hearing, and the city will have to approve the financing. That doesn't create any liability, but under the tax laws, because the city created the housing authority, the city is the governing body that must approve the bonds. And Dana Thompson thought it would be well to come in and provide information about the project. John Donaldson, who will manage the project, is here to talk about what it is we want to develop. And I can answer.
Let me this is a senior, this is an assisted living.
Assisted living and memory care.
Okay, and it is, I believe I noticed in the information that I had that that portion of it would be reserved, I guess, for low and moderate income.
Correct. 20% of the assisted living units would be set aside for low-income purposes. That's another requirement of the tax law. We have to do that to qualify the bonds.
Anyone have any questions?
I got a couple of questions. Who's going to operate?
John Donaldson, who is...
We will operate, so it's a 225 group will operate. And we presently have an interest in 5 projects around the country. We have 2 in Georgia. As a matter of fact, we have a similar project to this project over in Beaufort. This same building was built in Beaufort, south over behind the mall. It has a different look to it, but it's the same building. It's 78 units assisted in, and we manage this building. We manage the other one in Cumming and one in Augusta.
Question, with our, I can get out of here, but with our new rules and regulations getting ready to break in January, how is that impacting assisted living versus rehab versus there's another type of housing in between the two as far as
This is all private pay. This does not qualify for Medicaid
will be no medication.
That's not very.
It's not really a medical facility, it's housing for people who need assistance.
You have two properties here now, Canton and Americus. It's the same type of property and services they provide.
Well, it's my understanding, I've got a brother that resides in Cameron.
Yes.
And it's my understanding that the other facility, you can't even have diabetes to go in there now. And when you got seniors,
It depends on the level of care that's required now. If, in senior, as assisted living, it is assisted living. That's why we have nursing homes. Of course, if a person's ambulatory, we take care of them 99% of the time. I can't take into a situation where we would.
Sure.
I apologize if you addressed this and I missed it, but is this facility going to be privately owned, or is it owned by the housing
It's going to
authority?
be privately owned. The housing authority would be a conduit, issuer, they would
So
loan. the
property
proceeds.
taxes will be paid on this
Correct.
property? Okay.
Yes, that's sure will.
What's the estimated construction cost or assessed value once it's completed?
The total cost of the project divided 13 million, construction cost is running about 7 million. And there's about a little $200,000 in fees to fit all into that, of course, it goes to the city as well.
How many beds?
There will be 79 beds all total in this one. 23 of them will be memory care.
Anyone else?
No, I'm good with it.
Okay.
We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I would assume we need to move that onto the agenda for the 15th.
We have to have a public hearing on that as well, or is this
Housing
it?
authority, housing authority will hold the public hearing.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Okay, city manager's report. You have his letter in your package. Council introduced items, Badcock furniture, tap fees. Bobby, you want?
Well, I think that we brought this up during one of the budget meetings, but we didn't think it was an appropriate time to talk about it, and so I thought that the work session would be the best time to do it, and if Mr. Wood would give us his recommendation and just refresh the council for what the situation is, and then we can we can probably act on it today. I don't think it's necessary to move to the next meeting.
We talked about that a good bit. I think basically this site being located in the county, and the county actually kind of directed some of the requirements for them, but and some were really, I guess, oversized for what we would have required. I believe particularly it's for a sprinkler system anyway, and they were being charged like 40-something thousand, and if it had been directed by the city, it would have been like 28,000.
Correct.
And basically, I think from our discussion, I think it would be appropriate to basically charge them the amount that it would have been had we been directed that. They had to put in a larger pipe for their sprinkler system than we was required, a larger tap.
So we don't really need to make a motion or anything, just do we just tell you to go ahead and do it at that, to charge them what they would charge if they were in the city?
I
I
think
think you
that,
need a motion
I think
because,
I want a motion.
because
Okay.
you're gonna direct staff to do it. because
Okay, well then
Does anybody have a problem with that? You know, why don't we just put it on next January and approve it, but as far as I'm concerned, we'll reaffirm it at the next meeting, but if you need to go ahead and let them know, then do that, let them know that that's what we're gonna do.
that's fine,
Okay. The proposed management of the city's recreational program, Mr. Huffman.
Put that on there. Well, bring something new to the council, to the mayor. As you know, we're building a new park, Etowah Park, and it's going to have 3 soccer fields, and it probably could be used for lacrosse and maybe some other type of activities. And we are studying Heritage Park. It's a vast area of land that could be used for fields for the little ones. And of course, we still have the ongoing use of Bowling Park. So the city has now got quite a few parks and fields to be concerned about to make sure that they're operating appropriately. So the YMCA has approached me and wants to approach the city about the possibility of taking over the management of those fields as far as activities. In other words, that would involve drafting a athletic field use policy for the city of Canton for review and approval by the council. In other words, we make most of the rules. They could bring some suggestions because the Y has expertise in this area of managing these type of associations and youth leagues and so forth. They would also draft a youth athletic policy and procedure manual. And I've already seen some that they use in other locations, and it's pretty thorough, which we have no experience right there. I don't think we do. They can draft proposed fee structure for the use of the fields and develop an income and expense estimates. What they would try to do is just to manage whatever the city and the council decides they want to do. And I'm just going to use, for instance, and this is just an oversight, some ideas, is that if we wanted to use 50% of the use of certain fields for an association, then they would manage it that way and use the other 50% based on whatever criteria we give to them, so that we don't have to have people coming forth to council or wherever it would be to ask permission to do this and schedule that. And I just don't feel like it's the time and place for us to be spending our time when we got the Y down here, which is a city building, that we don't use their expertise. The benefit to the city is quite obvious, that it would be well managed, clearly defined field allocations to satisfy the citizens as well as any organization that would come. Council would not have to be involved in the day-to-day approval of field use, and it would cost less for the Y to provide the management and possibly prevent us from hiring new employees, because we do have quite a few fields. The difference with this new park is that we're going to have an amphitheater there, and then as well as Heritage has got a dugout amphitheater where we can have various organizations present festivals, concerts, and so forth. And that is an area that they would not be involved in. They would be involved in the youth sports clinics, youth camps sponsored by community organizations, churches. During the summer months, you have different athletes that come by and have camps and bring the kids in, and we would have that offered through the Y, and we would compensate them from the fees that are collected from the use of the fields. They would have a small amount that they would collect for themselves for their time. And the rest would come back to the city to help pay for the maintenance of the fields. And I want to bring that forward to see how council thinks about involving the Y, and put that on the agenda for future.
They'd be taking care of the maintenance?
No, the maintenance will continue to be done by the city, but the fees would go towards offsetting the cost.
Yes, do we, I may be mistaken, but do we not have someone managing some of the activities at Bowling Park now, some organization?
And also Harmon Field.
Yeah, and it's not the Y, right?
That's not the Y, no.
So then we would have to supersede them with the Y, and they would no longer have control of the fields. But that one at Bowling Park, are they not supposed to be taking care of maintenance as well? I think they are. I think we do. But my concern is too, that I think it's a good idea that we have control. I mean, we have someone controlling the fields, but I also think that if we have that big of a project going with the Y, we're also going to need somebody on the city side to be a liaison between the city and the Y, and not just have the Y come into council every time they have an issue. So that might include I don't think it'd be a new employee, but it'd be an additional burden on an existing employee. So that's a factor we have to consider.
Jack?
Another concern I would have is we have citizens want to go over there, play a little pickup game of softball or something like that. They've got to go through somebody to look at it. That's kind of counterproductive. What we're really going to do, they're not part of the group. They're citizens that pay tax dollars in the forest. They want to get so busy that they can't use it.
That's the very reason we want to do this, is that we would have specified, like down here at Bowling, they're very picky about who walks on that park. And we've had to correct him. I believe Mr. Wood has said he had to have a meeting with an attorney to explain that that park is for all citizens. Well, we don't need Mr. Wood to have to go over the, if we give the Y directive, it's how they're supposed to conduct the business. And there's 25% open for the public, general public. It's not a scheduled event. That's exactly the reason we want to do this, Jack, is to put some organizations, like we don't have contracts down at Bowling Park, or what's the other park name? Harmon. And now that we've got multiple fields, we need to start bringing it together and appear a little bit more organized on how we go about our fields.
I may be wrong, I may be speaking out of turn, but I will say, Harmon has run their own program for many years, paid for most of it until recently they played, we changed up that to pay the last, but I know they paid for most of that. They paid for all their improvements. So I think we have a good group there.
I don't think the Y, I had a conversation with John Nix about it, just how it would work, kind of. I don't think they have any interest in managing Harmon. I think it would be not included in anything like this.
Did you say they wouldn't be dealing with events, other events?
No, they don't, that's not their expertise as far as, bringing in a band or something like that. That's not their bailiwick. That would fall on some other organization, like Main Street might want to take that under, or the Arts Council. They've done a great job with their festival here in the city. I don't know where that would fall. It could come under economic development, possibly. I'm not sure where that would fall. It would need to be coordinated in case there's possibility of one interfering with the other, but other than that, no, they're not interested in taking that up.
If we were to consider something like that, wouldn't we have to advertise and solicit other proposals from anyone out there that might, even though there may not be anybody else? But would we have to do that since it's, it's not a intergovernmental contract?
It's just a management agreement. I don't think you would have to, but you could. I mean, I don't think.
Otherwise, you're not giving all members of the public the same opportunity.
Right. But I don't think there's any legal requirement that you bid it or do requests for proposals. You may choose to do that.
And also, if we could only do it, if we did a contract, it would only be for 1 year at a time.
We've got contracts that go longer than 1 year.
We've done it all.
Waste management.
That's a different law applies to that.
Utility
As opposed to this. I don't think we can have a contract that obligates another administration or goes beyond our fiscal year.
Actually, the Supreme Court has said you can go to the length of terms of office. So a 3-year contract may not be a problem. They have really loosened up that law about not binding for future councils. Like I said, there are cases, in fact, one of them was a recreation, just this kind of thing, with the idea that who's coming in they don't want to spend money if they're going to lose the contract in a year, so that it's reasonable to go beyond a year. And it was a recreation authority. That was a Jonesboro case.
It was an authority?
Well, it was a recreation fields with Jonesboro. I said authority, I probably said that wrong, but it was dealing with recreation.
I know, I know authorities can do
But
that.
it was the city of-
government, I don't think city government can contract for more than a year on anything.
Well,
I mean,
the
not
courts have said
anything.
otherwise.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's a real mess. You go read a case and it's almost case by case, because they
In
start.
other words, what we could do, this council could now enter into a contract for 40 years with a private organization.
No.
Wait a minute, let me finish it. And the next 4 administrations couldn't do anything. There's got to be a limit.
There is a limit, but
What
it's,
is that limit?
well, I can't tell you exactly, but occasionally it's more than a year. That's all I can tell you. There's cases that say 3-year contracts have been upheld, 4-year contracts have been upheld. I can't tell you what it is. It's not 40, it's not 5, it's somewhere between 1 and 4. That's what I can tell you.
And I think that's,
But
wonderful.
you would have automatic renewals at any rate.
And we could have, 30, 60-day cancellation if one party's unhappy with the other, whatever the reason. And it's not gonna be a big contract. The key here is that we got some facilities, we got more than 1 or 2 now. It's time that we get organized, but at the same, and have it run smoothly. We don't have those expertise. We just don't have them. And we got an organization down here that is a good organization, nationally known, very respectable. They know us, we know them. We do business with them on a regular basis. It's not a big contract anyway.
Anyone else have a comment, question?
Well, only ones, what do we do next? I mean, what is your plan
Well,
next? If
the
you
thing
can't put
is-
on next agenda, you're not gonna be.
The next thing I would like to know is the attitude of the council. In other words, they would like to pursue it, but they're not gonna pursue it if the council doesn't show any interest in it. It's the same thing as, do I wanna go out and do a lot of work when there's no interest? If there's interest in pursuing this, then they're interested in going to do the work.
This is the old head nod, right?
I would have an interest in it, but only if it is open to all agencies and organizations to make a proposal. It would be fair to everybody making a proposal, we could look at that. I don't think we should just assign it to any one private nonprofit or private organization.
Well,
I mean, that's on its own.
I can understand that, but to get started, folks, we got a park getting ready to open, it's gonna be wanted to be used. To get started, it's easy to do this right now. Make it a 1-year startup or something like that, and then open it up. Find out what's good and bad, or right or wrong, or something or other, rather than just what is politically correct.
I guess the next question would be, is there anyone on the council here present that disagrees with that?
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, same here.
In other words, what we want to do is put this on the agenda for the next meeting, you know what you're saying?
He's not gonna be here at the next meeting, though.
Well, that doesn't mean he got to be here.
I think all he's looking for is telling the why there's some interest.
Yeah.
It may come back 2 months from now, it's not gonna come back next week.
No, it's not.
Okay, well then, I guess there is interest.
I understand though, Y wants to present us a proposal, right? And they just want to know if we would be interested in even considering it.
Based, yeah.
Balls in their court.
Based on what they put out on this 2 or 3 page ideas. And I've helped participate in this, and these are just some of the ideas, and we'll look at it, but any other ideas that maybe we need to incorporate in this, then we'll go back and go to work. That's, as long as the council is interested in entertaining that, rather than just, I don't know. How do you get something started? We're gonna have to, one way or the other. If we don't do this, what are you gonna do?
Well, the county has, we discussed with the county before the possibility of their recreational department doing the same sort of thing.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago now.
I would sure like to hear what the Y has to say.
Certainly not.
And I would hope that would incorporate, Mr. Mayor, the lady who's doing the Heritage Park review. Lisa, is that her?
We're meeting, I think we're meeting with them a week or two, aren't we, again?
Or didn't you just meet with them?
No, that got canceled.
Oh, did it?
But it's been rescheduled, I think.
Yeah. We had rescheduled that, so fingers crossed. Liz Cole is the lady.
Liz Coach, yes, thank you. Is that we would show her some of our ideas, because she surely has some good ideas. And what we really hope, when they built that field, it's my understanding, they took that passive walking path wide enough to where you can have the young kids, 6, 7-year-olds, playing sports down there in the middle rather than just cutting grass. It's the biggest waste of time of our employees that I've seen. Folks, when you drive by there during the summer, look out there and watch them cut the grass. That's all they do. We can have kids playing. And that's the type of service this city needs to provide if we're going to be a city.
Anyone else?
You cut me off.
Sounds like it. Better not take a deep breath, or Okay, I'm assuming that they will come back and bring something to us and make a presentation.
So I got it.
I believe that, let's see, I think that was the last thing we had on there. Have a motion to adjourn, have a second? Those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, no.